What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Reek Knows Hoops. I'm your host Tyreek, and as I'm recording this, the defending champs just got eliminated in the first round. Yeah, the Lakers just lost to the Suns. Phoenix. We're gonna talk about this game, but did I actually think I would be recording this video? Not really. Um, was I rooting for the Suns somewhat as a unbiased fan? Yeah, I mean Chris Paul's my boy, so I was definitely rooting for Chris Paul, but if you watch my videos, I always said I'm not picking against a LeBron James-led team in the playoffs. And, through the first three games, it was looking just like that. I mean, the Lakers seemed like they were getting healthy. They were ramping up. And then AD gets hurt in game game 4, I think AD gets hurt. And that really changed the entire complexity of this series, man. So, we're going to talk about that. Also going to talk about the Portland-Denver series that ended tonight as well. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. This is a channel where we talk about NBA basketball. So if you love hoops, this is the place for you. My apologies for not recording since I don't think I dropped the video since this past Saturday. I've been sick, bro. I've been sick really bad. I'm still kind of, under the weather, but I wouldn't be a good YouTuber if I wasn't going to be talking about this game in this series, man. So let's talk about it. The Phoenix Suns, the 2 seed, everybody was, they were the talk of the bubble last year, going 8-0. Everybody was happy to see Devin Booker playing some type of meaningful basketball in the offseason. They make the moves. They go get Chris Paul. They go get guys like Jay Crowder to, fill the gaps around these guys. Another year for Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton. It's a team that really, took a step in the right direction last year with the bubble. And adding Chris Paul, it took them to a team that was a fringe playoff team to, a team that everybody thought would surely be in the playoffs, but they ended up being the second best team in the NBA. And obviously, if you get the second best record in the league, you'd be very happy with your matchup in the first round, more likely than not. Their reward was to get to play the defending champion LA Lakers with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, getting healthier. We know that AD LeBron missed a lot of time this season with injury, which is why the Lakers were the 7th seed, because everybody knows that this Lakers team was healthy. They were, at the time, they were clearly the best team in the league, in my opinion, with a healthy AD and LeBron. But obviously with the injuries, they dropped a significant amount. But, we all figured that this was going to be a very good playoff series, but very dramatic series to say the least. It started off game 1 early on. Chris Paul, in Chris Paul type fashion, gets hurt. And look, mentioned Chris Paul fan. That hurt me to see him go down with another injury, especially so early. And when this is probably one of his last best chances of getting a championship. I mean, we saw a couple years ago, he hurt his hamstring when he was with the Rockets, when they had a very legit chance of beating that Golden State Warrior team. The team with Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond. They had a very legit chance of beating that team. And they weren't able to do it because Chris Paul ultimately went down. Now, I can't guarantee that Houston wins that series, but I'm pretty confident that the Rockets would have been able to win that series, honestly, because they had chances in Game 6, Game 7 to win that series. But that's in the past. Let's talk about this series, man. Chris Paul goes down, but the Suns still able to win Game 1. Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton were amazing in that game. In Game 2, the Lakers come back. Anthony Davis looks like AD. He was locked in. He was dominating the inside. He played a very good game. Then the series shifts to LA, and Game 3 was that looked like a game that could have easily broke the Suns. It looked like a game that could have broke the Suns. We saw tempers were flaring on the court. Jay Crowder, LeBron getting into it. I think D Book either got teched or he got ejected. Like, tempers were flaring everywhere, and it just seems like the Suns were starting to implode. Chris Paul doesn't look like himself. He's obviously playing with one arm. And then the Lakers dominated that game, and they won, I think, by like 17, 18 points. They dominated that game. Heading into Game 4, it had the feel of like, well, this might be it. This is a win, a win or go home situation for the Suns, even though they're only down 2-1. And AD gets hurt. AD gets hurt in the first half, and he hurt his groin. That changed the entire complexity of the series, man. Because AD was really starting to ramp up. He was really starting to play like the Anthony Davis that we all know, and that changed the entire series. You saw the Suns starting to gain their confidence back. Chris Paul slowly started to look more like Chris Paul, even though he's not, taking over, with his shot making as much because of his shoulder. He was still controlling the offense. Devin Booker, other than like 2 games, he was absolutely phenomenal in this entire series. DeAndre Ayton was probably the most consistent player for the Suns in like the first 4 games. He was playing great basketball. And, the Suns, they were able to get that game. And then game 5, they just blitzed the Lakers. They blitzed, like the Lakers just, it seemed like they didn't show up. Anthony Davis didn't play. Nobody really showed up. LeBron didn't play good. Kuzma didn't play good. Dennis Schroeder played terrible. Drummond was terrible. Everybody played bad for the Lakers that game. And game 6 started off pretty similar. AD started the game, but you could tell early on just like easy movements for Anthony Davis seemed very difficult. And, he was grabbing at his groin a lot early on. And he ended up trying to go for a block on D-Book, hurt his groin again, missed the rest of the game. And the Lakers got down big once again. They battled back. I give them a lot of credit for battling back. Shout out to LeBron for staying in attack mode. Talen Horton-Tucker played really well. Wesley Matthews had a very active game. KCP was playing great in that first half. Really kept the Lakers within striking distance, but ultimately wasn't enough. And the Lakers lose this game by 13, and the Suns are moving on to the second round. We got to give a lot of credit to Devin Booker. That's where I'm starting this. Got to give a lot of credit to Devin Booker. A player that a lot of guys in the NBA fan space were saying that he gets buckets on a bad team. So do they really mean anything? And I'm here to tell you, yes, it means something, because he's getting buckets on the biggest stage in the playoffs in Staples Center. When Kobe told him to be legendary, he went to Staples and was legendary, dropping 47 points on the defending champs in a closeout game. And I seen somebody on Twitter say the Suns are playing like this is game 7. Well, because it is game 7, because you don't want to see LeBron in game 7. I don't care how, even though LeBron's not 100%, I don't want to see LeBron in a game 7. If I'm a team, I don't want to see LeBron in game 7. So this was a game 7 type of feel for the Suns, and obviously for the Lakers, it's a closeout. It's an elimination game, so your back's already against the wall. Devin Booker, he just came out. He blitzed him in the first quarter, had 22 points. And then just consistently throughout the rest of the game was picking and choosing his spots. The Lakers did a good job of adjusting, but he was still able to end the game with 47, like I mentioned. And also down the stretch, when the Lakers were making a run, I think they got it to within maybe 10 at one point. And then Chris Paul, we saw Chris Paul turn into Chris Paul for like 4 or 5 straight possessions. He hit a little turnaround jump shot on the baseline. Then made a couple great passes to the corners. I think one was to Cam Johnson, the other to Mikal Bridges, and then hit a size-up jump shot at the top of the key, a Chris Paul type shot, and that really just controlled the flow for just a little bit. It just stopped the bleeding for a second, and the Lakers weren't really able to recover. They tried. I think Horton-Tucker had some buckets down the stretch, but it just wasn't there, man. And the Suns are moving on to the second round. I'm kind of shocked, honestly, because I couldn't envision the Lakers losing in the first round. Now, obviously, Anthony Davis getting hurt is a big part of it, and I hate injuries. Injuries have happened so much just in this postseason alone. We even seen guys coming into the postseason banged up, like Donovan Mitchell was banged up. We seen Chris Paul get hurt early on. Joel Embiid hurt his knee the other day, a slight meniscus tear, which he's only day-to-day. And I know I'm missing some guys, but, Luka was hurt a little. He hurt his shoulder. Like, there's some guys that have been injured in this postseason, man. And it sucks to see injuries. Jamal Murray's not playing in the playoffs. It sucks to see injuries really help control the narrative. But, it is, at the end of the day, it is what it is. You got to play with the cards dealt to you. And the Suns were able to win this series. I'm gonna hate to see Twitter and stuff tomorrow, like when First Take and whatever Undisputed, Skip and Shannon show come on, and all those shows, bro, because it's gonna be the same questions, bro. It's gonna be the same question, does this game affect LeBron's legacy? That's all they're gonna talk about, and I'm not here to talk about that, bro. I'm not here to. This is an anomaly of a season if I've ever seen it. Maybe the bubble was that way too, but I think this was even more of an anomaly of a season because, the scheduling, all these back-to-backs, COVID testing, players getting injured, even though the injury rate's not the highest it's ever been, it really seemed like a lot of star players were getting hurt too. This season was just so odd, I guess. And you even seen it with the top 2 teams in the NBA being the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns. But congrats to the Suns because they earned this one for sure. They earned this one. I'm happy for my guy Chris Paul. Hopefully his shoulder's cool, because right now it's looking like the door's wide open for him to make a finals run. Like, if it's not this year, it might not be ever. Like, that's all I'm gonna say for my boy CP. But I'm happy to see him thrive. As for the Lakers, LeBron, this might be good for like LeBron and AD, because they just been banged up all year. So it's like now they can get healthy instead of trying to continue to play through injuries. And, you know, sometimes you just need time to get healthy. You know, Father Time is still undefeated. And as for LeBron trying to power through a high ankle sprain, you know, at age 36, that's asking him a lot. Even as great as LeBron James has been and as great as he is, that's asking him a lot. So this might be beneficial for the Lakers and their, you know, star players getting some extra time to get healthy, because it's going to be another kind of condensed offseason as well. So they get a head start on that. Some guys probably lost a lot of money in this series. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Dennis Schroeder might have lost a lot of money, but I'm not giving him a pass, but I'm giving him a slight benefit of the doubt. He did have COVID like right before the playing game. Like, he was recovering from COVID. And as somebody that's had it, it's nothing to play with. Like, if you actually have the symptoms, you're gonna feel it for a little while. So I understand that. Maybe him not being his full self, but he was pretty bad in this series. And Andre Drummond didn't even play in this game 6. Yeah, I don't think Andre Drummond is a winning type of player. Like, I just don't think he impacts winning. I just don't think he does. I mean, there's players like that, they just don't impact winning. He doesn't really impact winning, even though he's put up all-star numbers in the past and stuff. But yeah, I can't believe, I still can't. Yeah, I'm kind of shocked. The Lakers are eliminated from the postseason, and the Suns move on to play the Denver Nuggets. And this was a series, I made a bet with my twin. I said, I'm taking the Nuggets in this series, and he took the Blazers. And the reason I took the Nuggets is just because I feel like even with the injury that they dealt with, they're still just a much more rounded team. They're much more well coached. Michael Malone's a very good coach. Terry Stotts, I just think his time's up in Portland, man. I made a video on Terry Stotts. He should have been gone maybe a couple years ago, but Damian Lillard saved so many jobs in this Portland Trailblazer organization. He deserves whatever he wants. He deserves whatever he wants, and what he should want is another guy that he can look to that's on his level. Like, he should want another superstar. I know he's not with the super team stuff. I know him and CJ are boys. CJ's my boy. That's one of my favorite guys in the league. Trailblazer fans hate him, I guess, but that's my boy, and I think it's time to split up that duo. I just don't think that they can win, you know, significant games in the postseason with this tandem. I just don't think they can. And, you know, Dame does what he can. Like, he tries to put on his cape, but sometimes that stuff burns you out, bro. And I think that game 5 in Denver, if y'all pay attention, I know I didn't get to speak about it, but he had like 55 points. He was lighting Denver up, hitting clutch shot after clutch shot. That stuff wears you down, bro. And we've seen Dame do it in the past, like really play so well for, you know, early stretches in the playoffs, because he has to take his game to a, you know, obscene level for his team to be competitive. And this Nuggets team, Jokic, the MVP of the league, like I've been saying for like the past few months, that is the MVP of basketball. He was tremendous in this series. Bro, Nurkic can't mess. Nurkic cannot mess with Jokic, bro, like at all. He cannot mess with Jokic. The fact that they weren't bringing double teams, I know Jokic is an amazing passer, but one, they were just letting Nurkic get abused. He was getting in foul trouble. He can't mess with Jokic, bro. Like, it's that simple. Covington did a decent job down the stretch, but guys, like this Nuggets team, I feel like guys' confidence is starting to get up. Michael Porter Jr. started the game off amazing. He played terrible in the second half, but he started the game off great. But guys like Monte Morris have picked it up so much in this postseason. Austin Rivers has had his games. Even like, you know, I've seen JaMychal Green come in and have very good minutes. He closed the game out tonight, and the Nuggets were able to win this one. And now they move on to the second round, even without Jamal Murray, without Will Barton. They're missing PJ Dozier, who's another rotational player. They've been playing two-way players like Marcus Howard. Like, Campazzo's been getting significant, like, starter-level minutes. And this team's in the second round, man. Great. A lot of credit to Michael Malone. Jokic doing a lot with this team, which he's done all season long. That's why he's the MVP. It's that simple. He showed it in this series. I've talked about the Blazers. They have a interesting offseason ahead of them. If Terry Stotts is back, I would be like utterly shocked. I know Dame said he likes Terry Stotts as his coach, and they've been together for a long time in Portland. But it's time. It's time to to break that bridge. It's time to move on, get a new coach in there, and maybe get some new surrounding pieces around Dame. Man, I just don't think that the way that this team is constructed right now is good enough to get Dame to where he wants to get, and that's to compete for a championship. And CJ is probably the piece that is most movable out of their core. Nurkic might be movable, but what could you get for him? There's not really too much wiggle room for the Blazers. If they would want to keep CJ, they would probably have to trade him in order to take this team to the next level. If not, it's probably time for a reset. If you care about your franchise, it might be time for a reset, because the way this team's constructed, they're not competing. They're going to be competing to get out of the first round every single year. They're going to be in the middle of the pack every single year. So, Blazer fans, I feel for y'all, because it's going to be a difficult offseason, man. We're seeing teams like the Celtics who have been in that same framework for so long. Danny Ainge has been a GM for 20 years there. Brad Stevens has been a coach there for 7 years. They're starting to mend their fences. Brad Stevens moves up to the front office. Danny Ainge retires. So now there's going to be a new voice in the locker room, man. Sometimes that's all a team needs, is a new voice. So for the Blazers, let's see if the new voice is the start, and let's see what the front office decides to do. If they're changing the front office, we'll definitely see about that. But, I would say disappointing season, in my opinion, because I thought this team, with the moves they made in the offseason, I spoke about this before, I thought they were getting back to the brand of basketball that got them to the conference finals a couple years ago, having more defensive, versatile wings. They brought in Covington, who wasn't sensational for them this season. He picked it up a little bit in the postseason. Derrick Jones Jr. completely fell out the rotation. A lot of disappointments for this Blazer team, man, and I'm still weary on the Gary Trent trade. I'm still kind of weary on that. Let's see if they can get Norman Powell to resign. But yeah, this is almost an 18-minute video, man. I'm still kind of shocked. I'm just shocked that the Suns pulled this out, man. But like I said, I'm happy for Chris Paul, and I'm happy I won my bet too on that Blazers Nuggets series. I'm very happy I won that bet, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to recap these playoff games, because been sick, man. I've been down and out. This took a lot of effort to record this one right now. So if you made it to this point, leave a like, man. Just leave a like for me. Helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, the Suns moving on to the second round.